It makes my day every time you show up, because I never know if you're going to show up or not, but here you are, and what a surprise and a wonderful surprise it is. Speaking of surprises, we have a little surprise today, and we have a guest. We don't have a guest very often, but maybe we will have some guests in the future. But anyway, I just took my mask off. Don't forget, you got to wear your mask. And every time we come together, especially in the church, we always say our prayers, right? And today, as we begin, there's a lot of people who need our prayers out there, right? A lot of unrest in our world, especially in our country, and people who are sick, people who have COVID-19, people who have to wear their masks, and people who are losing their jobs, and it goes on and on and on. But through it all, we know that Jesus is always with us. So let's begin with our little opening song like we usually do. And today, after I say he's got you and me brother, you and me sister, then we're going to say it again. I'm going to just pause. And you're going to say whatever name you want to say, okay? Your mom, your dad, your grandparents, a friend, somebody you know that might need some prayer today. We'll say their names, okay? So, he's got the whole world in his hands. 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 He's got you and me, brother, in his hands. He's got you and me, sister, in his hands. He's got in his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands. There. What a way to start. So, today, our special guest is going to be Dr. Gray. Now, you guys may remember him from church. Some of you may have been taught by him before faith formation, religious education, right? He goes over to the hall. He puts you all in that big group, and we learn to sing. Others know him from church and from the sacraments and confirmation and all the things that he does. And it's so important that we have him in the church because music always makes it better. There's a wonderful saying that says, music is praying twice. Singing is praying twice. So, without further ado, I'd like to invite Mr. Gray, Dr. Gray, to come forward. Hey, Dr. Gray.
Hi.
A pleasure. Good to see you today. Thanks for being with us. This is a very special time, and we have our friends from the parish and other places as well. And, you know, a lot of times, the whole church, we saw all kinds of things, but one of the things we didn't talk about was this machine right here. And it's quite, to me, complicated, although I thought I played pretty well at the beginning. And I thought maybe you could give us a little tour of that and what that's all about.
I'd love to.
Okay? All right. I'm going to stand on this end, and maybe you could have a seat or just stand.
So this is called an organ. An organ is a little bit like a piano. It has keyboards like a piano does, but it has more keyboards than a piano. This organ has 3 keyboards up top. And then if you look down here in the bottom, there's another keyboard that you can play the notes with your feet as well. So on a regular piano, no keyboard for the feet. And then you'll see there's lots of buttons and things. I always think that the organ looks like the cockpit of a big jetliner, you know, with all of the instruments and gauges and all of the switches to make things work. So, organs are some of the greatest achievements in engineering that the human race has ever produced. They really are amazing feats of engineering and science. So this particular organ is comprised inside of all kinds of circuits, and it has 4 computer hard drives on the inside. This organ really is a big computer And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we play some notes.
How long have you been playing the organ?
I've been playing the organ since I was in junior high school.
Wow.
I started around the 5th grade with the organ.
Wow.
I had played the piano before that. And so when I was a kid in Delmar, over here on the other side of Albany, after school, I would walk by the church on the way home, the Episcopal church where we were members. And I would go inside, and they would let me practice on the organ in the afternoons.
Oh, wow.
And eventually, they gave me a key to the church so I could come in and practice after I proved that I was responsible enough.
Oh.
And then ultimately, they started to ask me to play the organ for some church services when they needed a substitute. So really, the church was such a big part of that for me. And I just loved the organ. One of my teachers in school, in middle school, was a very good organist. And so she gave me some lessons and
You've been playing
for a long
time. That's great. And mostly church you've been playing in, or?
In church, I've also played recitals. I've played concerts, chamber music, all kinds of things.
Right here.
But mostly in church for the organ. You find organs, pipe organs, mostly in churches. And that's because churches like our church here at Immaculate Conception, we have a very big and beautiful church. And it's a big room. So the organ provides lots of sound to fill up that room. One instrument sounds very nice in here, but when you're trying to get everybody in our congregation to sing together, 300 or 400 people, an organ is really just the thing to fill the room with music and to get everybody inspired to sing. So that's why you find organs in churches all the time. And also because the organ really is the organ was originally intended as a substitute for the symphony orchestra.
Oh.
And so in a symphony orchestra, you might have 100 musicians playing. The great thing about the organ is that it can make all the sounds of all the different instruments, but it only takes one person to play it. You don't need 100 people. So why don't I demonstrate a little bit about what I mean that the organ is really like the symphony orchestra. So these tabs on either side, these are all, we call them stops. And each tab is a different instrument. On a pipe organ, each tab would represent an entire set of pipes for that one sound. And you can see you have many, many tabs here, so we have all these sounds. I'm going to start with one of with the instrument that the orchestra tunes to. This is called the oboe. Right, and it makes the oboe sound. So I can play like an oboe solo.
Wow.
So that's the oboe. Then we also have over here the piccolo. Right, so I can make the piccolo sound. Then we have a trumpet, wonderful trumpet sound.
It's like it's coming out of the pipe.
It's coming out from up here where the pipes are.
Wow.
Yep, that's where the sound comes from. And this is perfect the way this is designed here, where the organ, we say it speaks, or it sings, straight out into the church. And you see it's up above our heads, so there's nothing to get in the way of the sound. It just comes out and fills the whole church. I can also make a sound that sounds like violins and violas and cellos. We call these strings. So So far we've had oboe, we've had piccolo, we've had trumpet. I can make a trombone sound.
I bet you guys know what that is. That's a good sound.
It's the trombone sound. And then we have some other kinds of sounds. I can make a bassoon sound on my pedals. You see, I play these pedals with my feet. So I play all the higher sounds on the keyboards, and I play the bass sounds with my feet.
Wow.
So bass.
Do you have to look at your feet in order to play?
We're trained as organists not to ever look at our feet.
Oh.
And I'll demonstrate that to you a little bit. In fact, I'll demonstrate it now. I'm going to play a little bit of this festival trumpet tune on the organ. And you'll see I play the bass notes, the low notes with my feet. I play the middle notes with my left hand. And there's a trumpet solo in this one. I play the trumpet solo with my right hand. See if I can get this set up. Okay.
There's a lot of stuff down there.
Then I switch. Now all the trumpets. So I didn't look at my feet.
No, you didn't.
Of course, I've practiced with my feet for many, many years. And it does take a lot of practice. It's like learning dance steps. But we can feel with our feet where the black notes and the white notes are. And that's how I can figure out where my foot is on the keyboard. I can feel the black notes and the white notes and the spaces.
Oh.
So, and then I can put my feet down to hopefully play the right note.
Yeah. Do you have special shoes?
These are special organ shoes. I'll show everybody the shoes. I only wear these shoes for playing the organ. They were designed for organists. They have a very thin sole, and that's so that I can feel where the pedals are. If I had a thick sole like on my sneakers, I have very thick soles on my sneakers. If I wore those, I wouldn't be able to feel the pedal notes very well. This is a very thin sole so that when I push the note, I can feel the key very well. It also has a taller heel because when I play scales and things, I alternate my toe and my heel. I'm going to play a little bit of this. This is the famous start to a famous organ piece that starts with a solo for the pedals. I'll play a little bit of it for you. When I play this, I brace myself on the keyboard so that my feet can be free and move.
Wow. That's like dancing on those pedals.
Play lots of notes with the pedals.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, Dr. Gray, what are those silver things down there?
Well, let's talk about, there are buttons up here. You can see there are buttons that have numbers on them. These buttons here go 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 11 to 15, and then these each go 1 through 6 on each one. So these are for memory, just like on your computer, where you might click on an icon on your screen, or touch, right? Touch the app and the app will open. The computer remembers when you touch that app to open up your game or whatever it is you're playing. So the organ will remember anything I set up on it. And these are all for memory. So I can program each one. I'm going to push, this is called a general piston. These are called pistons. And the generals do the stops for everything at once. Right? So I can push that and play. And it remembers what I set up before. Then each keyboard has its own set of memories as well. So this one works these stops over here. So I can program all kinds of different sounds. You may notice I try to use during Mass for our songs, I try to use as many sounds on our organ as I can. You might hear me play, this is a clarinet solo, and I love this sound on our organ. Let's see, I love that sound. Also over here, I've got a beautiful solo flute. It's one of my favorite stops on this organ, and it makes such a beautiful sound.
Wow. It's amazing how sometimes some of the sounds really make it very prayerful.
Yes.
You know, almost like heavenly.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And then we even have bells on the organ. This organ has lots of bell sounds, but something like this, where I can play the bells.
Wow.
So lots of different sounds we can make. It's an orchestra of sounds. And there are 3 keyboards, and each keyboard has its own set of sounds that go with it. So that, like when I play this piece, I can make changes. And then I can go. So each keyboard I can program with different sounds, and they can go back and forth between the keyboards. Or I can, like this piece, with the trumpet solo, I can make the trumpet solo separate from the instruments that accompany it. Here's the accompaniment. And then... So I can play 2 different sounds at once.
Wow, that's incredible. You know, we just hear it. We don't know
now,
all that you're doing.
See, I can change the sounds by pushing these buttons, but I could also change the sounds by pushing these foot tabs. And these things down here by my feet, they duplicate all the buttons. So if my hands are too busy, I can do it with my feet, right? So I can play. So you see, I can change the sounds with my feet if my hands are busy playing. So I have 2 choices. I can change it with my hand or with my feet.
Oh, sort of like my hands were playing at the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what all of those tabs are. And then organists joke about these pedals here. We say, this one is the gas, and this one is the brake, and this one is the clutch. But that's not what they are. Each of these pedals control the volume of each of the manuals. And every keyboard has its own volume control. So I can do on our trumpet sound, and then I can make it louder, and I can make it softer, right? And then up here on my accompaniment, I can make it louder or softer. So I can control the volume. Then this fourth pedal, this is a wonderful thing. It's really useful. This pedal, the fourth one over here, we call it the crescendo pedal. A crescendo is when you start soft and you get louder and louder and louder and louder. And I can program this crescendo pedal to add stops as I push it down. So let's say I'm playing quietly, you know. Now I can use my crescendo pedal. So it really is like an airplane cockpit. The crescendo pedal is like the landing gear.
Yeah.
Right? I could
putting down the flaps.
Or the flaps, yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So it gives lots of ways to make our singing and our music in church be alive and have lots of color, lots of different sounds. Like we had a symphony orchestra here for Mass. But it only takes one person to play.
You know what I like sometimes is after Mass is finished, you'll play something and you play it really loud.
Yes.
Oh, and the whole church just fills up and everybody's like, wow, it's beautiful.
And it really, you can feel it. It shakes, it vibrates in the floor. And yeah, that's an exciting feeling.
So this has been quite an adventure. Thank you so much, Dr. Gray.
My pleasure.
And now when we hear this, we'll think of you at your magic hands and your magic feet playing at the keyboard. Well,
just one last thing.
Yep.
We have a really wonderful organ in our church. This is a really good one, and it's really fun to play, and it has lots of beautiful sounds. Not every church has a beautiful pipe organ or an organ of any kind. So we're very lucky. It shows that our church values music, and we like to sing. I know everybody likes to sing. I know all the kids like to sing.
Yeah.
So it's nice that we have this beautiful instrument to accompany our singing with.
Yeah. And you know, today it might be important that the kids especially remember how important it is to know how to play an instrument.
Yes.
Because it's a whole new language.
It is, and it's a great way to express your feelings.
Yeah.
You know, once you've mastered an instrument or you can play a few things on it, it's really satisfying.
Yeah, I bet.
To be able to make music yourself.
Yeah.
Rather than, we all go home and we put on a CD or we play an MP3 file, and we all have our music that we like, our songs and our bands and things. But for me, there's no substitute. I like to do that too, and I listen to music all the time. But I love to play music. It's my favorite thing in life. Mm-hmm. And to just lose myself in the music, and also to practice and get better at it and learn new pieces. It's just really, really fun and satisfying, and I enjoy doing that so much.
A lot of practice, right?
Yes,
and
all the time.
That's what we go through life doing, and we practice how to pray, we practice how to be kind, we practice how to love one another. It's all practice, and always Jesus is involved with the practice, helping us to be the best we can. Well, this has been really great. Thank you so very much for being with us, and maybe you can conclude today with something from the organ.
I wanted to play a little piece it's not a big loud piece, this piece, but I wanted to show you what the coordination is like when you play the organ. This piece really has three parts, like three different instruments playing at one time. The melody part I play it on this manual here. That's the melody. And then the accompaniment I'm going to play on flute sounds. And then the bass I'm going to play with my feet on the pedals. And I wanted to show you this piece because it shows you what a feat of coordination playing a piece like this is, where you have three separate instruments. Each instrument has its own phrasing, its own sound. And I play the three instruments between my two hands and my feet. Right? So I'll play just a little bit of it so you can see what this sounds like. Now, that piece doesn't sound, it's not a majestic piece. It's a very delicate piece, but it's wonderful to play because you get to play three different instruments at
great.
one time.
Beautiful. So. Well, thanks again, Dr. Gray and Christine. Thank you for being our camera person today. And so we are here at Tuesday Chats, and thanks for being with us. Hope I can see you next week. I'm not sure what we have in mind for you next week, but we'll find something interesting and something prayerful. And remember, say your prayers and do good deeds, and remember that I love you very much, okay? And I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.